What's up guys, it's Zenith with my video all about the controller grip claw. In this video I hope to cover some key points including some benefits of the grip, what the grip exactly is. I hope to cover any and all questions about the grip, as well as go over some potential downsides and myths I have heard about the grip. And for anybody who wants to learn the grip themselves, I hope to share a tip that will make learning this grip both faster and easier. Now as always, I try to be as thorough as I can in my videos, but I do slip up sometimes, and if I do, please let me know in the comment section below. I actually love having discussions with you guys in the comment section about different controllers, grips, or anything relating to Melee, so please do not hesitate to leave anything in the comment section below regarding this topic. So like I said before, I'm structuring this video around some key points, so let's get into the first one. Now chances are if you clicked on this video, you might not know what the grip claw is. Put it in a general way, it is a modified grip on the controller, building off of the quote-unquote stock grip, which is the way that the controller was kind of meant to be held, with your thumbs covering anything on the front-facing part of the controller, and your index fingers covering the triggers and whatever else might be on the top of the controller. Now there's nothing fundamentally wrong with this grip, in fact it's the way that the controller was meant to be held. However, a lot of players find that in more competitive play or faster paced gameplay, that moving your thumb all around the front-facing buttons and control sticks proves to be slow. This problem is pretty prominent in first-person shooters, which is where I first heard about the grip claw. For a general example, take Call of Duty. Anytime you want to, say, jump or crouch down, your thumb has to leave the control stick, leaving you kind of vulnerable and in a state where you can't really aim properly. This problem was actually big enough where a lot of gaming companies such as Scuff Gaming have actually come out of the woodworks and developed controllers with buttons or paddles on the back of them linked to the front-facing buttons, allowing players to input those buttons without ever having to leave the control stick. Now the same principle applies in Melee. Say if you want to do any kind of fast move, like an instant up air with Captain Falcon or an instant forward air with Marth. Although there's nothing fundamentally wrong with doing that, it is a bit slow having to make your thumb travel this entire distance before ever getting to have another input. Now the benefit of claw comes in here. As stated before, claw is a modification on the regular stock grip where your thumb gets to stay on the control stick and your index finger typically moves down and presses any buttons on the front side. Now claw can come in many variations. What claw generally just means is your fingers are in somewhat of this position, resembling a claw, but there are many different configurations, and one of the most common, and the one that I started with, was having your thumb cover the C stick, the B button, and the A button, having your index finger just cover jump, and having your right middle finger and your left index finger cover the triggers and Z button. Personally, I didn't like even moving my finger back and forth between these two buttons, so I actually brought up my ring finger, and I do play on my controller with this grip. The benefits here comes from your thumb only having to worry about covering the attack buttons and having a dedicated finger for grab, jump, or shield, depending on what you want to do with your trigger. This allows for a lot of instant sequences of movements that previously would take you a longer time to cover. Moves like shine grab are suddenly accessible without ever having to move your fingers off the buttons that they previously were on. Characters gain instant aerials, and generally I do believe that this prevents a lot of hand pains that might be associated with having your thumb cover this entire range of the controller, by instead limiting its range between two buttons and a control stick and having everything else being covered by one finger. If any of these benefits sound appealing to you, we'll get on with the second part of the tutorial. Alright, having to grip and learn claw. As a disclaimer, there is absolutely no way that when you start learning the claw grip, that it'll feel comfortable for you. In fact, I myself played years of claw on different controllers like Xbox controllers and PS3 controllers, but I personally started on the Gamecube controller with a stock grip. Even with my previous history with other controllers, it did feel very weird when I had to start doing the claw grip. But have no fear, because within a matter of say a week, depending on how much you do play, claw will feel more and more natural, almost to the point where you feel that you can't play without it. Now in my brief explanation of what claw is, I accidentally pretty much gave away the entirety of how to grip claw, which like I said before is any variation where your finger kind of comes down to form a claw shape on your right hand to help cover different front-facing buttons and allow you to do different moves easier and quicker. Now because there's so many different variations of claw, I can't exactly recommend one variation to you, so this is where a lot of experimenting comes in, but just as long as you have the general idea of having your index finger cover different buttons on the front of the controller to help your thumb move around the others, you're playing with the claw grip. Now I did promise to share a tip regarding how to learn this grip easier, and we will go over that right now. This applies to almost every variation of claw I can think of, and the basic premise goes like this. Picture you're holding your controller with a stock grip. Now notice on the bottom part of the controller, your 3 fingers are aligned with each other. Now say you want to do a very basic claw grip, where your index finger comes up to say cover Y to jump, and your thumb will move between the A, B, and C stick. Now because your index finger moved up one space from the triggers to the Y button, your middle finger will want to move up to either the Z button, the trigger, or both. Now that I have the standard claw grip, pay attention to the position of my remaining fingers on the bottom part of the controller. Now if I turn the controller over, you'll notice a difference in my right hand's finger position. Obviously no longer are there 3 fingers on the bottom part of the controller, but now there are 2. One of the biggest problems I hear about the claw grip is the confusion of where to place your fingers, and nobody ever really talks about that too much. So generally the tip I want to give of how to learn claw both easier and faster is to pay attention to the fingers on the bottom part of the controller. If you move one finger up like I did here, where your index finger moves up 1, your middle finger moves up 1, it will cause your ring finger to move up 1 space and take the place that your middle finger once held. Once again, this is the stock grip and this is the claw grip. Notice that there is a gap where the ring finger used to be, and the ring finger is now occupying the space of the middle finger. I know that everybody's different and people with different hand sizes may have different experiences, but generally I feel that this applies to everybody. Again, I haven't seen too many people at all even talk about this, and I feel that is one of the most crucial parts of having to learn claw, because it helps your hand stay in more of a natural position. Now personally, the way I grip my controller is this way, and you'll notice now that my middle finger has moved up 2 spaces, meaning the only finger on the bottom part of the controller is now my pinky. Now turning the controller over again, you'll notice that my pinky is now occupying the middle space of the controller, where my ring finger originally was with a stock grip, and if I did a traditional claw grip where there was actually an empty space. So one more time, a stock grip will look like this, with your index finger on either Z or the R trigger, and your 3 fingers completely aligned. Now if you want to do the traditional claw grip with one finger moving up, causes there to be a gap of 1 finger in the middle of your 2 remaining fingers, as your middle finger now occupies either the Z button or the R trigger, whatever you want. And finally, with the claw grip that I have, the pinky moves up to the space that was originally unoccupied with the traditional claw grip, as all fingers are now occupying different buttons on the top. Now the reason that I know that this works is because it actually just came natural to me. It's something that I noticed when I was playing around with different controller grips. Now as someone mentioned in my comments section on my melee controller grips video, there is a lefty claw, which involves your index finger and your thumb both on the control stick. But if you want to do any kind of grip like that, the same principle will apply, where because now your index finger has moved up, the remaining 2 fingers now have a gap. So once again guys, the stock grip, the grip of moving 1 finger up, and the grip of moving 2 fingers up, no matter what hand you do it with, this will generally be the most comfortable way to grip your claw grip. Finally, let's go over some downsides I have heard about the claw grip. The main one being that it causes hand pain. I've been using the claw grip ever since probably the year 2012, and a lot of hours of Call of Duty and Smash Brothers have been sunk in using the grip. Now I can't claim that there is absolutely no way that this grip causes hand pain. However, at least through my own personal experience, I haven't experienced any kind of hand pain due to this grip. I believe the most important factor of avoiding hand pain is being smart with the amount of hours that you play and having proper stretch sessions before and after playing, say, melee for a very long time. I believe that the fact that the claw grip actually limits the amount of space you have to cover actually helps your thumb, which is an area that a lot of players actually have problems with. That's another reason why I recommend my whole aligning fingers method so heavily, is that it actually allows for a very comfortable hand position on the controller. You can really use any grip with any controller, and if you're not too smart with it, and if you grip, say, the controller super tightly, or you have a very awkward grip, depending on what you do, you're gonna run into hand problems eventually. So above all else, make sure your hand is comfortable when learning the grip, and remember that this grip does take some time to learn. Having your hand feel uncomfortable is different than your hand experiencing pain. So in the beginning, when you're not used to the grip, any kind of discomfort might come from just unfamiliarity with the grip rather than it causing damage to your hand. However, be smart with it, and if you do experience pain, please rest up your hands and avoid playing, especially with the grip that you're using, for a while. I do believe in the claw grip as the most efficient or the most optimal grip because it allows you to do a lot of instant things that you previously couldn't do with a stock grip. A lot of top players use this grip and benefit from it, so I hope that me making this video and hopefully spreading this information will help any players out there. Thank you guys again so much for watching, and I'll see you next video.